Hey everyone, this is Josh Hayward. Happy Friday to you all. I hope that you all have had a great week and that your weekend is getting kicked off right. It's Friday, also Solid Orange Friday for all Clemson students, fans, alums, etc. We always wear orange on Fridays to support our team. So shout out to my Clemson Tigers, the current reigning national football champions. But to finish out the week, we are going to look at the last beer that I have here for Olde Mecklenburg Brewery. We've spent the last few days going through these brews here. We looked at Copper, the Southside Vice, and Captain Jack. Tonight, I have a special brew for you guys called the Dunkel, simply Dunkel. This is actually a winter seasonal for Olde Meck Brew, and just so happened I still had one. So it does have a little bit of age on it, but no doubt it'll still be pretty tasty. But just a little bit of background on Dunkel. Dunkel is the German word for dark, and this is simply a dark lager. As the weather begins to turn colder, typically, at least with beer and with brews, the beers get a little darker. You see that starting in the fall time. We'll start seeing that in a month or so. Actually, all these seasonal fall brews will be coming out. But as the months get even colder, the brews get even darker. I guess that's a historical thing, kind of going back to just history back in the day. Folks wanted a more heartier brew, something that provided a little more sustenance, something that would warm them on a cold day. So this is the Dunkel, the dark lager from Olde Meck Brew, and we're going to pour it out and see what we've got. It's been a while since I've had the Dunkel, so this will be good. I will say this is a very different beer from anything else we've seen thus far. Copper was an alt beer, a lager beer. These other two were kind of lighter, the Southside Vice and then the Pilsner, both lighter type beers. The Dunkel is much heavier, much darker, as you can see. Again, a lager style like the Copper, but much darker. As you can see, it is a dark amber color there. As you get lower in the glass, it gets even a lighter amber, a bright amber there. But just a beautiful color, darker brew there for sure. This is going to come from some of the darker malts that are used in the mash here. Some darker, longer roasted malts. They take the barley and roast it even longer to give it this darker color. And with that comes a variety of different types of flavors as well. So definitely, yeah, dark amber color there. Just a beautiful beer. You can already tell it looks hearty. And if I can't really give you a view here, it's dark from there, but if you look down, the light's kind of shining down in the glass here, like you can see pretty much straight through the glass. So it's a I would say kind of a translucent kind of beer. There's a little bit of a haze in there from the unfiltered type beer that it is, but you can still kind of see through it. So not overly heavy, but let's give it a little swirl here. We've got a kind of a tan color head there. Definitely different from the other brews we've looked at, which have been kind of a white colored head. This is definitely tan, almost kind of creamy looking in a way. But let's see what we've got on the nose. I can't wait to try this one. Oh, wow. This is rich. Very rich. There's so much going on here. In comparison to some of these other brews, there wasn't a lot on the nose in the Southside Vice and even in the Pilsner. But Copper had a decent bit of aroma. But this one, there's so much coming through in here. I'm getting malty sweetness. I'm getting toasted bread. I'm getting caramel. I'm getting hints of maybe even like dark fruit. I think raisins, figs, that type of a dark fruit variety. Maybe a little bit of hoppiness in there towards the back end, not much, but lots and lots of richness in there. Good sweetness, caramel, maybe even some toffee in there. All aromas that are consistent with this color brew there. Wow, it's just beautiful. Enjoy looking at it. I can definitely appreciate a beer. I'm a fan of darker beers. You know, I love my IPAs, of course. I really love all kinds of beer, but I do love when the weather begins to turn cooler and we start to see some of these seasonal varieties. So let's see what we've got. Cheers. There's so much flavor in that beer. Yeah, that's good. It's tasting that those two sips. It's kind of confirmation of some of the stuff on the nose for sure. It's it's drier than I remember for sure. Um, but definitely getting that maltiness in there. That's showing up in toasted bread type flavors. Um, Again, comparison, and I'm glad we did these before. This was more white bready type, especially in the pilsner, kind of more flat, plain. This is a toasted bread. So imagine popping a piece of bread in a toaster, toasting it up till it's good and brown, and then taking a bite out of it. That's you get that flavor in there. Um, Something else, another flavor I'm getting in there is a little bit of caramel type flavor. Not overly sweet type caramel, but a flavor that reminds you of caramel in a way. Um, there's also that pleasant sweetness that's almost reminiscent of a dark fruit in a way. And I mentioned the raisin and the fig earlier. So taste a raisin, throw a couple in your mouth, eat them, then drink this beer, and you kind of get that semblance there. A little harder to come by figs, but you can do that easily with raisins. Um, it's a very smooth beer. I will say that. Smooth, easy to drink. It is heavier, much heavier than any of these other ones. Even the copper, as with it being a darker beer, it still was relatively light. This is a heavier beer, but not overly heavy. Not heavy like a stout or something, but definitely something that it feels fuller in your mouth. Just the richness of the flavors in there. As far as bitterness goes, there's not a ton. There is a little bit on the backside of that taste. You get the sweetness there, the bread, toasted bready tones, the caramel, maybe even a little bit of toffee, the dark fruit. Then you get some the bitterness in there from the hops. Probably some German noble type hops. Oh, the name's escaping me. Hallertau. There's another variety too, but probably some German noble type hops, giving it some floral and some spicy characteristics. Also, definitely adds to the dryness of the beer. And after the first couple of sips, I was like, wow, it's drier than I remember. And it definitely is. As I'm sitting here, my mouth is dry after drinking the beer for sure. So that those hops definitely contribute to a little bit of that dryness. But again, it pairs very well. The sweetness from those darker malts paired well with those German noble hops. It's a very pleasant drinking beer. Now that I think about it, you know, on a cold day, drinking a darker brew like this with these great notes of dark fruit and toasted bread, it would definitely warm you on a hot day for sure. Let me see. This one is 4.9% alcohol by volume. So not heavy on the alcohol there, but it's still a hearty beer, I would think. The Dunkel, the dark lager from Olde Mecklenburg Brewery. Like I said, I only had 4 of these for this particular series. Hopefully I can come by a few more, especially as they come out with a few more of their seasonal releases. I'll do some videos and tag them onto these as well. But thank you so much for following along. It's been great going through these great brews by Olde Meck. And if you're ever in the Charlotte area or passing through the Carolinas, seek out some of their brews. You definitely won't be disappointed. Thank you all so much, and cheers.